Welcome. Welcome to everyone. We are the Dartmouth Opera Lab, and we have assembled an opera for you. It took us 1 year. We were going to present this live in a live performance at the Hopkins Center for the Arts 1 year ago today in May. But you know what happened. The world stopped. But we didn't, did we? We all went on. We kept on living. We kept on fighting. We kept on hoping and loving and creating. And tonight you are going to see the result of what it means to create when there is pandemonium around you. I'm Peter Webster. I'm Director of Text and Dramatic Studies at the Dartmouth Opera Lab, and I am the director of the film of The Medium by Giancarlo Menotti that you will see tonight. You're going to meet some of the team that created this wonderful piece remotely, and I'm going to introduce you first to our leader, Maestro Filippo Ciabatti, the music director of Dartmouth Opera Lab, music director of the great Dartmouth Symphony Orchestra, and director of the great Dartmouth choral groups, the Handel Society and the Glee Club. Buonasera, Maestro.
Buonasera, good evening, everyone.
And next, we're going to listen and learn from a wonderful person. You want to sing, don't you? We all want to sing. But how can we sing well? How can we sing to the best of our ability? How can we create a character through song? You need someone called a voice teacher. You need a vocal coach. You need someone who can bring character to life. That is a rare combination, a rare type of artist and educator. And we have the best. We have a mezzo-soprano of international repute, Miss Erma Mellinger, who is a senior lecturer in the Department of Music and our very own vocal coach for Dartmouth Opera Lab. Good evening, Ms. Mellinger.
Good evening, Peter. It's nice to be here tonight.
And now you're going to meet perhaps the most important, vital part of creating an opera, the artist who sings it. We wouldn't have an opera if we didn't have a voice and a face and a life to share with. And so you are going to meet an artist, a singer, a poet, a philosopher, a playwright. Please welcome warmly into your homes and into your hearts, Ms. Emma Ginsberg, Dartmouth class of 2023. Ms. Ginsberg, how are you?
Hello, I'm so good. I've had so much fun working on this project, and I'm so excited to talk about it.
That's terrific. And you'll see what Ms. Ginsberg does, because she is our very own Mrs. Gobineau, and she'll break your heart. So how do you make an opera when you have got singers in 4 different places in Massachusetts, in Philadelphia, in North Carolina, in West Virginia, in Oregon, in Colorado, and in California? What you do is you create a score, you create a track, a piano track of the great music, very difficult music, and you ask Maestro Filippo Ciabatti to prepare it, to create it, and then you work with David Haggerty, the master technician, our audio engineer and our videographer for the medium, and you create this piano music and you send it out to all our singers by the internet, and they listen to it and they learn the notes, and then they work for a year. They work with Miss Erma Mellinger to develop their vocal abilities to the highest level, to develop their characters, and then they record in their own places, their dormitories, their rooms, their garages, wherever they set up, and they send this music back to David Haggerty and to Maestro Ciabatti, and they review it and they fix it up. And then while all this is going on, I am building a set, and I'm making 2 of everything, because I have to mail parts of the set to all of our singers. And then I do Zoom character studies, rehearsals, makeup with all of the singers, and we get it together. And then in their rooms, wherever they are, our artists of the medium record themselves on iPhones. Yes, we made this opera with telephones. And then we assemble it and we send all of these 7 months worth of video to David Haggerty, and he converts it into the opera that you're going to see tonight. And he and I get together and we edit it, and we do a rough edit, and we submit that to Maestro Ciabatti and Ms. Mellinger, and they approve it, because the voice and music part is the most important part. This is opera. It's not a painting. It's opera, and it has to sound just great. So they approve. Then we send it to our producer, and then we present it to you. So I'm going to stop talking because I want to learn something. And I want to ask our first question to Ms. Mellinger, our wonderful vocal coach. And my question is, what have you done, Ms. Mellinger? What is it like to work remotely with sometimes singers that you have never met?
My part of this project is probably more traditional than the parts that came along after with the digital and the recording and all of the mixing and things. When you first start an opera, you get the score and the singers have to start learning notes and rhythms and start thinking about their character. And then, as you said, they start working with a voice teacher. And we've all been used to Zoom for the last 15 months now, the lag of Zoom, the sound problems that we have with it, with singing, but we make the most of it. And I have to say, these singers are incredibly tenacious and resilient and willing to take on something brand new with full force and full enthusiasm. So the singers were wonderful. We met privately, and it's difficult because music can't be played. I can't play the piano and give them their cues. They have to kind of pick their notes out of thin air and find them. I think in this way, also, there's a lot of conversation that has to go on in this opera, one character to another. So our singers had to basically learn everybody's parts so they would know how to feed themselves the lines, because when they recorded it, they weren't hearing the other singer singing like we would normally in a traditional let's be in person kind of an opera. So they really had extra stuff to learn. Their other thing that was interesting is, as the pandemic restrictions were lifted a little bit in winter, we were very fortunate that the 3 seance attendees were on campus, and we were able, Filippo and I, with the 3 of them, with humongous social distancing and only for an hour at a time, were able to get the 3 seance singers together so that they had a little bit of a rehearsal, so they could meet each other and hear each other and play off of each other, because that's the thing that we miss here, of not being able to play off and be shoulder to shoulder with the person that you're singing with. So we were fortunate enough to have that as well. So it was a delight. These students and these singers, you're going to be very, very, very pleased tonight to listen to them.
Relentless and focused and passionate and full of chops, and they were all that. And this is a complete Dartmouth student affair. We have a visiting artist, Anamora, from the New England Conservatory, who sings the role of Baba, Madame Flora, the medium. And she and Isabel Brick, who sings Monica, never met. They never saw each other. So what Ms. Mellinger talks about of listening and learning everyone else's part, you will see in this film that you cannot tell that they are not in the same room because they listen to one another. And that's really great. So I want to ask a question of Ms. Ginsberg, the playwright. You look out for her play, Stick Figures, which is in development with the Dartmouth Theater department. And it's a pretty hefty thing. So, Ms. Ginsberg, what has it been like to contribute to participate in this huge project, dealing with everything else that I mean, you had exams, you had personal matters to deal with, you had midterms, you had homework, you had all kinds of stuff, and yet you were able to present and make just beautiful music and create a character that it just breaks my heart what you do. So could you answer that?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, working on the medium through this past year, I think has definitely been something of a gift for me. One of the wildest things to adjust to at the beginning of the quarantine period, with everything going remote, was not knowing when live theater was going to return. I think the whole stretch of the future felt like something of a chasm. And we had to ask, like, where is art? When are we going to be able to do this thing that we love so much again? But in those moments of uncertainty throughout that whole year, being able to open up my score and learn a page of my music or record a couple lines in the winter was just so, it was really reassuring, and it was nice, and it reminds you that art doesn't ever go away. When it's something that you love and that brings you joy, people will always find a way to do it. And that really, and it's spiked up the hybrid term a lot when we got to do rehearsals on campus. I know Edward and Julia and I were fortunate enough to have some in-person rehearsals. I remember the one rehearsal where we picked up our microphones and were hauling our microphone stands across campus. And looking back on it, we probably looked goofy, but I remember feeling like, oh, I'm an artiste. I have equipment. And it was a moment of real camaraderie. And it was just so good. There's a bug on my face right now, but we're good.
Okay, folks, you just saw some of the live, like real life that you're going to see in this opera, this film, because there was a bug in the room. Okay, and our medium, she had to scream at one point in the opera, and a dog appeared out of nowhere, and jumped in her lap and started to lick her to defend her. So the part that Ms. Mellinger calls the seance trio, which I call the trio, is probably the hardest part musically, because it's like the most like, quote, real opera. And the fact that you sing together so incredibly and is a tribute to you, to Ms. Mellinger, and to David Haggerty, and to Maestro Ciabatti, who labored incredible hours to do that. So we've got really short time, so I'm going to jump over lightly to Maestro Ciabatti, and I'm going to ask, what was the process like to remotely do an opera, to be our music director, to create the score, to make the music, and then to unite us all, so that from all of our thousands of miles away in the country and all of our different levels of singing, you made us into a unified, beautiful musical thing. How'd you do that?
Well, I mean, a lot have been said already by all of you, and I'm gonna add just that I originally was supposed to conduct this opera. Then, of course, when the pandemic hit, I decided, we decided collectively I was going to play it. So I learned the score at the piano, and the unusual, very unusual and challenging things was that I had to, as you already very well said, Peter, in kind of outlining the process of this, I had to record it alone, like as a studio recording, as a piano recording, which is very unusual, and it's very challenging because, you know, as an opera pianist, and I've been playing for singers since I was 15 years old, and you have this return, you know, of energy and music and conversation with the live singer while you play. The fact that I had to record the score alone made it more challenging, because you have to kind of imagine in your head what kind of color would that passage, you know, need, what kind of timing would a certain transition need, etc. So that was really interesting. In a way, it almost forced me to learn the opera even better, right? So I played it, and I did the best I could by recording that on my own. And then I started working, as Erma has already said, with the singers, some on campus, some via Zoom. And then at the end, we kind of, together with Dave, who's fantastic, we kind of started to put all the material together. And it was almost like shaping a sculpture. You know, you slowly see the result at the end. And I was very in awe of the work the singers, all the cast, students have done. And then, of course, Peter, your job arrived, which is the job of creating the actual staging. So I'm going to take the opportunity that you asked me this question for me to ask you directly another question that is related to what you asked me. We talked about creating the score musically in different places, right? But when we think about opera, we think about staging, we think about movements, right? We think about some sort of an action, interaction, right? The challenge in this production, of course, was to create a staging with Zoom boxes. So with people that are statically in different places. And of course, you've done a brilliant job doing that. But I'm curious if you could share with the people that are listening now, how did you rethink the staging of the medium with these very different mediums?
Well, one of the things that we did, Maestro, as you know, is that we sent a complete recording back to our artists of them singing along to your piano track. Now, you say you were playing alone in a room. Maestro, you are never alone, because you have got Verdi with you, and Puccini and Monteverdi and Wagner and all these other people. They live inside you. You do not have blood. You have got music pouring through your veins, so that you understood inside your heart how these passages had to be. So our artists got that. So I asked them to really listen, and they were then able to sing along to their own performances. So like Ms. Ginsberg does this incredible thing, but you will see her singing along to her own performance. And then for the dramatic purposes, we erased that vocal performance and put in the perfect musical vocal performance that was selected by Ms. Mellinger and by Maestro. But I think that movement in opera comes from the music. It doesn't come from moving people around like, traffic policemen. No, it is intricate. It is small. We look at each other. You look at someone you love, and if they go like that, you know exactly what's going on in their mind. So with this intimacy of the Zoom panel, you cannot lie. John Barrymore said, the camera knows everything. If the camera looks at you long enough, it knows who your grandparents were. And if it looks at you even longer than that, it knows what you had for breakfast. So you cannot fake it. You cannot act for the camera. You have to be. You have to think, and you have to sing. Now, acting is easy, because if you're cute or whatnot, people will say, oh, cute, that's great. But if you can't sing, people know it in the first 3 seconds. And so everyone that you're going to hear tonight can sing. And my job was to get them to listen to themselves, so that the little gestures that are in the music, that are in their emotions, could come across. And so, yes, it's just a little Zoom screen, but it's as big. Our hearts aren't very big, and yet they fill our body, right? So these little Zoom screens filled up the opera. And that's how I did it, I don't know. And also, I trusted them. I trusted these artists, because directors go like, wah, wah, wah. But if the artist doesn't want to do that, you got to listen to them, and that's good. Okay. So I think that we have to move on to something here. I have to ask something that I really want to know of Ms. Ginsberg. How did you relate emotionally to your character? How did you dig into that? Because you do things, Ms. Ginsberg, that I can't believe. I can't believe you are so translucent. It's like you are made from moonbeams. It's like your colors are from a butterfly wing. And it's Emma Ginsberg, great cookie maker and playwright. So tell us about that.
Oh, stop it. I really liked what you said, Peter, earlier about movement coming from music, because for me, it was really the same with emotion coming from the music. I remember I first got cast in this role, and I thought, oh, this character is a mother and probably a lot older than me. I don't have a lot in common with my character. But I realized in looking at this opera that the music gives you everything you need to know. And I really, in working on this, learned how to study a score more in depth. I mean, I'd worked on music before, and I just, you learn your part and you learn how it fits in with the accompaniment. But for this show, I found myself going and just listening to the accompaniment, not trying to think about where I fit into it, but what is it telling me about who I am? Why is there dissonance here? Why does it speed up here or get quieter here? Because it is a reflection of everything that's happening emotionally. And it's definitely been transformative for how I work on musical theater pieces now. It's been transformative for how I write, because there's so much subterranean and just the vocabulary and the way syntax works in words and in music that can give you humanity. And investigating that throughout the course of this has just been really fun, and something I never had the chance to do before, and something that I am really excited to keep doing, is hopefully I can do more operas.
You will. And that's a perfect segue, because we're almost out of time, because I have to tell you a little bit about like what you can learn and what you can do before you see the opera. Because what she said, what Ms. Ginsberg said about learning from this experience to really look at a score, to really feel it, that is what this terrible pandemic has taught us, how to listen, how to be in the moment. So my very you have to answer this in one sentence. Is there anything that we have learned from this remote, high-tech experience that we will want to retain when we do live performances again? Ms. Mellinger.
Since I was mostly involved in the early preparation, I think it's being able to actually connect via Zoom when we aren't in the same place. I foresee things in the future where we might have a cast member who has an off term and isn't able to be at that beginning stage of learning the opera. So I think we can take advantage of that. I like the film. I love the film aspect, and I hope to see more, maybe easier when we can actually be in the same room with one another and film it. But I love the combination of the film with the sound and the opera and everything together. And I hope we can see more of that.
You will. Maestro Ciabatti.
I think that as a conductor, I mean, adding to what Erma just said, I think, the ability, for example, to stream performances or stream events like this, right, to bring things like this to a lot of people will remain in the future and should be retained. The fact that this event, the fact that the opera that we are going to present will be accessible to everyone in the world that wants to access it. It's really precious, and we will continue. I think we can. It will be a great a great tool to continue to stream performances, right? To stream conversations and lectures. So I think that will bring, actually, paradoxically, much more connectivity in this time where we weren't together. But this element will continue to bring people together even more.
And I'm going to direct the same question to our future. To Ms. Ginsberg.
Yes.
Okay. Hit me.
I mean, I was a little bit scared of Zoom lessons at first. I think before I had my first one, I thought, oh, Erma's not going to be able to hear me. I'm going to be singing for the camera, and it's going to change the way I sing, and it's going to be bad. But I have grown more technically this year than I think at any other point in when I've been studying music, because Erma and I have been working together to figure out, how do I become reliant on myself? How do I sing based on how I feel and think about technique in a way that makes sense to me and to my ear, as opposed to what other people tell me? Because there are points where, sometimes the Zoom audio does get weird and people can't hear me. So when I'm teaching myself things, I have to keep in mind what I have been told and how Erma has taught me to think about technique, and just come up with something that I can take with me. And that has been amazing. I've changed a lot this year vocally, and it is because we have figured out how to adapt to these changes, and I think made the best of them in a way that I don't think people were expecting to be able to at the beginning of this.
Absolutely.
Life triumphs, art triumphs, love triumphs. No matter what they throw at us, we will prevail. So I need to wrap it up now because we need to have people have a little time. So I want to thank Ms. Mellinger. I want to thank Maestro Ciabatti. I want to thank Ms. Ginsberg. I want to thank the Hopkins Center for the Arts for their incredible support and production of this opera. It would absolutely be impossible if they did not have the heart and the technique to do it. I want to thank each and every one of our artists who worked for a year giving of themselves, and you will see that what they are giving is something, dare I say, for the ages. It's really great. I know that Giancarlo Menotti is in the room, and he loves it, because I think in a very real way, this is probably the closest to his vision of what this very difficult, dark, and very human story has to say. So listen, folks, we're about to go into Opera Land. So if you go to the little link that they're going to put up on the screen, you will be able to view or download, listen to this, the libretto, the synopsis, and notes from the DOL team and from the cast. And you will also be able to see later on a wonderful video on how we put this thing together from David Haggerty. So that's all I have to say. See you on the other side, Ms. Mellinger, Maestro Ciabatti, and toy, Ms. Ginsberg, knock 'em dead. Bye.